You build trust when you let your authentic self and personality shine through. And that's what differentiates you. That's what builds the trust. That's what gets people hooked and engaged and wanting to listen and learn from you. It's good to be different and pave your own path.
Hello, wonderful people, and welcome to yet another episode of Meaningful Conversations with Stereotype Breakers. This episode is going to be super interesting for anyone in STEM who isn't seeking a traditional career path, and in particular, people who are getting a science education or who have science education who don't necessarily want to follow the stereotypical career path. Because my guest today, Sarah Habibi, has chosen an untraditional path for herself as well and is paving it as we go along. Dr. Sarah Habibi is a molecular biologist, science communicator, and a digital content creator. She is a popular TikTok scientist with over 130,000 followers. You can follow her on TikTok and Instagram as @science.bay. I can't wait for you to listen to our conversations because Sarah shares her journey and her experience of getting into science communication and, breaking the mold from the traditional stereotypical pathway of a professional in STEM. And some of the career pathways that she suggests have blown my mind. I've never thought about them, and I really hope that you will be able to apply them to your career and think outside of the box and, apply that thinking that Sarah has to your career. Okay, let's jump into that interview. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well and so excited for this conversation because science communication is such a cool topic and you're such a role model for everyone out there. I just can't wait to hear all about your experience with it.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you wanted to talk to me about SciComm. Excited to be here and share my experiences in this new transition and journey into a new career.
Absolutely. Let's jump straight into this topic. So, you are breaking stereotypes around what life and career looks like after getting a PhD in science. And, the fact that not everybody has to go into academia after graduating, which I absolutely love. So, tell us, what do you do, on a day to day basis now that you're doing SciComm? And how did you end up in this field?
Yeah, well, I'll start with the second part of the question of how I ended up here. I started communicating science and really just sharing my journey as a grad student as I was going throughout my PhD in university. And I started sharing that online on social media, specifically Instagram. And that kind of transitioned on its own into what we know as science communication. Whereas at the beginning, I didn't really know it was science communication, what I was doing, until I got exposed to this whole community of science communicators and saw that, okay, this is what I'm doing. And so that's kind of how it started. But what it's transitioned into and what I do on a day-to-day basis now, as I had mentioned, I do primarily my SciComm on social media. Now I'm tackling the TikTok world, and TikTok is it's a great platform to get young people engaged and excited about science. And so whether it's creating content, I do a lot of at-home science experiments. And so I'll have days where I am just planning the content that I want to film. I'll have days where I'll have to go and buy materials and I actually film the content, edit it. And then also I'm working on a few side projects that are more business related. And so I have some business ideas and avenues that I want to go down. And so whether it's business planning or planning for other exciting ideas I have in the future, it's that. But I also do a lot of consulting. And so I've worked with children's toy companies to consult on science toys for kids. I recently worked with a big foundation in Canada that had a big research competition. And so I was doing workshops and presentations for some people involved in that competition. And so it's a whole bunch of different stuff all day, every day. But it's really cool because I get to pick and choose what I want to do and what really suits me personally and the brand that I'm trying to build.
It's incredible. It sounds like you get to wear so many different hats, practice so many different types of skills, and it feels like you are turning your science background into a career that's more stereotypically been reserved to artists, let's say, collaborating on so many different types of projects. And that's amazing. But
Yeah.
also probably pretty scary because, you are paving your way for yourself, and there's no instruction manual for how to do this right or where to go. So take us back to the moment when you decided that you want to go full time into this, because again, it must have been a bit scary. What was your thinking process, and what were you feeling when you made that decision?
I love this question because my story is quite interesting. It actually, the conversation, the very moment and conversation happened while me and my husband were cleaning out our garage in the springtime, right before summer. It was about 4 months after I graduated my PhD. I was in the process of applying to a whole bunch of academic jobs, thinking that this is what I have to do. This is the next progression. This is the next step. I go into academia, I become a professor. This is what everyone expects of me. And I wasn't having any luck. I was racking my brain because I'm like, I have all of this experience. I've worked all these years to build up my CV. Why is it not working? What's going
Mhm.
on? And so at the same time, we had just found out I was pregnant, and I was applying for jobs that all had start dates that were literally when my baby's due. And I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. And so we both looked at each other. We're like, well, the social media stuff has been working. The science communication you've been doing as a side gig has been working. And it's like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's put effort into this full time. I'm going to stop applying for jobs. I'm going to stop doing anything else. I'm just going to do this 100% full time. We made a plan, we made a schedule. As soon as I started, I kid you not, within like a week already, I was starting to get deals and work was starting to come my way. And that's just, for me, that's the universe telling you this is what you're supposed to do, because I was trying so hard at something that wasn't working. And as soon as I changed gears, everything seemed to fall into place. And I couldn't be happier and more grateful for that.
That is amazing. And I love the fact that you planned it around, your lifestyle. You are planning your career around your ideal lifestyle, and you're not necessarily following the, I got to do this now, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to, like the stereotypical manual for how to do careers,
Yeah.
essentially. It is very hard to go, I don't want to say against the grain, but kind of in a way, right? Because you didn't take that stereotypical path. And I'm sure a lot of people in your life, at least that's been my experience when I did a similar move. A lot of people didn't quite understand what I was doing. Did you have a similar experience? Were people doubting your decision, like to go into science communication full time, and how did you go about those relationships and those conversations?
Yeah, well, I definitely faced some pushback because people didn't understand necessarily what I was doing. They saw me posting on social media, and that's all they understood was, oh, she's posting these fun science experiments on social media. How lucrative could that really be? And so people first of all didn't understand that you can actually make money in this field. And so that was a conversation to say, yeah, I actually make money and this is what I make. And then I think, I hate to say it, but that financial aspect gives, for a lot of older people, legitimacy to what you're
Mhm.
actually doing. And so as much as I don't like talking about that stuff, I don't feel the need to. Sometimes you almost have to tell them so they're like, "Oh, okay, this is a real job." Yeah, right from the beginning, I was still having uncles and family members say, okay, this is cool, but after this is great while you're pregnant and then while you're postpartum taking care of the baby. But once the baby's grown up a bit, then you can get a real job. You can get a real teaching job. And I'm like, no, like this is my real job. I think it wasn't until I started doing more appearances on TV through morning shows and really talking about the education I'm doing on social media that all those family members now are like, oh, wow, okay, Sarah, you're actually doing something that's legit. And now everyone's 100% on board. Everyone's like, just do that. Like, you're a natural at it. And you don't need this real job, and they see that what I'm doing is a real job. It's just not your traditional job.
Absolutely, absolutely. And first of all, I'm so happy for you with how this is going. Like you're killing it, and I am so impressed with how you are figuring it out and navigating this whole new world without, like I said, an instruction manual. Just I don't know, intuitively following what you want, and it's working, and it's just makes me so happy.
Thank
But
you.
also I feel like I've had a very similar experience with, convincing my mom. My dad was on board when I made like a decision, a big career decision, which was like controversial. But, everybody around it, you have to show them that it's working, that you're happy, and the monetary aspect, of course, which, is kind of sad, but older generations come from a place of they want to make sure that you're stable, I
Mm.
guess. I don't know. At least that's my perception of it. But now that you've tried so many different avenues of work, let's say, in science that are not academia, that are beyond academia, what career pathways do you see for people? Not necessarily maybe just in science communication, but just in general. What avenues are there for people who have a scientific background that don't necessarily want to go into academia?
Academia, for me, my definition of that is the research aspect in a university. And so if people enjoy teaching or they enjoy sharing their knowledge, there's opportunities in education, and whether that's public education or just straight up teaching at colleges or universities, that's an option. Or maybe starting your own virtual teaching business, because virtual learning is huge right now. Going that route, and maybe starting on social media, or then moving to creating your own business. But there's also opportunities in consulting. And so this is consulting on different topics, scientific topics that, for example, maybe a skincare product needs somebody to speak to help get the science about what they're doing understood. That's another option. There's also sales. So there's lots of different medical sales types of companies where you're selling products that are more catered towards a scientific discipline. And so if you're good at selling things, and then you also understand the science behind the product that you're selling, that's also a very lucrative field that I learned about while I was in grad school. And then, of course, communication. There's so many different forms of communication. Right now, I'm seeing a ton of jobs that are about combating misinformation, and specifically misinformation in the media and on social media. That is another opportunity where you can take your science background and apply it in more of a creative way through communication.
I love how you're taking all of the skills that you have and all of the knowledge and transferring it into different fields. There's so much that one can do with their background, and I love the fact that you also mentioned sales, which unfortunately gets a bad reputation. But everybody, I don't know, everybody. I'm listening to this book called "Selling is Human," and it
Mm-hmm.
talks about how all of us are now the salespeople, especially those who are in medicine, or I guess science also, or education. It's just like everybody is. If you change the word from selling to persuasion, I feel like everybody is in the business of persuasion one way or another, and it's just like, yeah, it's definitely an avenue that people should think about. But what about science communication and getting started in that? Now that you've done it, what would you recommend for people who want to get into it? How should they get started? And how would you recommend going about those conversations, telling other people in their lives that it's, a real job?
Hmm. So I think one of the first ways that you can get into science communication is one, through following science communicators on social media. I know I have science communicators who I look up to that have really helped me, and they're really paving the way for this career path. But also going and attending workshops, attending conferences on science communication. There's a really big one that is called ComSciCon, and I've been to as an attendee and on the actual teacher and running a workshop position. And both parts are extremely valuable because you're going there and you're spending a couple days. This past couple years, they've all been virtual, which is amazing because it doesn't matter where you live, you can attend it. And you're learning all about science communication, how to break down your communication. And not just for social media, there's science communication in newspaper and print media, in video, in TV, and social media. And so there's so many different types of science communication that they really help teach us and guide us through. And so that's a big one. But also, if you're more on the academic side and you want to read actual research, searching in Google Scholar, science communication, principles of science communication. There's lots of publications and articles out there right now that can help teach you what the important skills are for when communicating science. And then just really going out and trying different things, finding out what suits you. Because what I love about science communication, and that I see it with all the people who are doing it, is everyone has their flavor. Everyone has a different way of doing it. Even though there's so many of us doing the same thing, science communication, we all have specific niche that we like to focus on. We have a way of presenting it. Maybe it's more elementary, maybe it's more for an older generation. But, find out what works for you and what makes you excited and you're ultimately passionate about and good at. Going at it and trying and seeing what works, changing things up and going from there. It's all about practice. I've been doing this for almost 5 years now, and I feel like I'm constantly learning and changing and adapting, and that's just the nature of the work.
Absolutely. And you're so right on the fact that even if you see someone doing what you want to do, the spin that you're going to add to it is going to hook someone else, or it's going to resonate with someone else just because you have a different style of presenting the information, and it is all valuable. So even if you see someone doing the same thing as you're doing it, that shouldn't stop you from doing it yourself.
Yeah, and with science communication, it's a lot of it is about building trust, right? And so you build trust when you let your authentic self and personality shine through. And that's what differentiates you. That's what builds the trust. That's what gets people hooked and engaged and wanting to listen and learn from you. And so it's good to be different and pave your own path.
I love that. That's amazing. It's the artist science kind of approach to career.
Yeah, and I'm a big artsy. I've been an artsy since I was a little kid, all through high school. I was really big into visual and digital art, and so it kind of meshes really well now.
Absolutely. I remember your science makeup. That
I know.
was incredible, so beautiful, and another way of communicating science and getting people excited about it. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
so many opportunities to combine your artsy, all of your different personality and I guess talent dimensions into one thing, into one product.
Mhm.
What are your goals for your career? Where do you see taking it in the future? And yeah, what's your vision for what's to come?
Yeah, well, for me, I have quite a few goals and things that I dream of doing one day. I really want to build these social platforms, but I look at my social platforms as almost just the beginning and the foundation for what I want to build. I have I have a business idea, something that I'm working on that has to do with experimentation and kids and an actual like tangible product. And so that's something that I am working on. I'm also working on, I've always wanted to write a book. And so that is something that is just started, is well underway. And so that's exciting. And then the dream would be to have a TV show one day. I'd love to teach science to kids. I don't know what it looks like yet. I have ideas, but I'm open to so much. And that's really the ultimate goal. But making this a whole career and, yeah, honestly, taking every opportunity as they come. There are things that have come up in just recent months, and I was like, I didn't think of that. But yes, sign me up, let's do it. And then it leads to the next thing and the next thing. But ultimately, I wanna be sustainable. I wanna work for myself. I want to have my own business and really make this a standalone career.
I love that. Paving the way and making mixing and matching based on what you want. Like, taking the Legos and building your own career. Why not? Technology
Exactly.
allows us to do that now. So you are also breaking another stereotype actively, and that is what it looks like to be a mother in STEM and in science education, which must be both extremely exciting and also a little bit, I don't want to say disorienting, but there's no, again, rule book for how to do it. And unfortunately, the society hasn't quite figured out what it's like to be a mother and work. There's so many different approaches, no right or wrong. But how are you thinking about this? How are you approaching this? And who are you looking up out to for guidance on how to navigate this science communication motherhood situation?
Well, first off, I'm excited that this is all happening at this time because I do have a big child focus on with what I do. And so having a child of my own and being able to share with him and do experiments with him one day and all of that, like I'm so excited for that. But it's interesting because I I felt when I was applying for all the academic jobs, as I was applying for those, knowing I was pregnant, knowing I was going to have to take time off, it was very stressful. I was already feeling guilty about having to take time off right away, but then also having to only take a short amount of time off because I'd have to go back to my child because I don't want to be away from him for too long. It was this really uncomfortable position that I was in. But as soon as I decided to do SciComm full time and now I'm working from home, I'm choosing my hours, I'm being selective with what I want to do, I see this as being a career that will be, I mean, maybe I'm naive to say this, but quite manageable with a child. And especially because I don't have to leave, I don't have to go anywhere to do what I do. I can do it all from home. And so for me, I've got my schedules down with when I film content or when I have meetings, and to be able to schedule that around raising a kid, I think would be manageable. And at least right now, thinking about it, it doesn't stress me out like having an academic job and thinking about that with a child stressed me out. That's a positive, and it's something that I want to show women that, you can be in science, in STEM, and you can be a mother. You can really do it all. I think it all comes down to finding something that works for your lifestyle, something you're passionate about, and something that ultimately won't feel like work when you're doing it. And so you don't have that stress when things get tough with your baby or with work or whatever it may be. With that, some people I've been looking up to: Emily Calandrelli. She's a space gal. She is a huge inspiration of mine. She has a daughter and she has another one on the way, which is really exciting to see her going through essentially the same journey. She's been so lovely to me over the years, and just seeing how she can do it. I mean, her to me is goals, like hashtag goals. And so I look up to her a lot, and she really shows women that you can do it if you're passionate about it. And then there's also Kelly Girardi. She has a daughter, Delta. She's also in like the space field. She's amazing, and I see her do it. And what I enjoy about Kelly is that she has a like Delta, her daughter, is incorporated in a lot of the SciComm that she does on social media, specifically on TikTok. And that's something that I really want to do once my son comes, and I really want to have him involved because I want to show, like, I don't want to hide him away. I want to be real. Like, this is him, and I want to get him excited about science just like me. And so seeing other moms in STEM who are doing that definitely is inspirational for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, both of those women are incredible, and Delta is so cute.
So
I,
cute.
her cheeks. I'm sorry.
I know.
Uh,
And she's so smart. I can't. Like, she's so smart. I love it.
I know, I know. I remember watching this one TikTok with her and contactless restaurant. It's like, tell me your baby grew up during COVID without telling me your baby grew up during COVID. It was kind of sad, but also incredibly funny, and like how it just shows how quickly children pick up on things and
Oh,
how
yeah.
quickly they adapt to the new reality that we're living in.
Yeah, they're
But
almost better at adapting than us.
oh yeah, 100%. They don't, well, I guess they don't know what it
They
they
don't
don't
know the
have
difference.
that exactly, and they're not trying to go back to something else. They're just
Mhm.
living.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you're approaching it from a very mindful place, because I honestly relate to that so much. One of the reasons why I have my own business and I'm also trying to like figure out a similar model is because eventually I do want to be a mother myself, and I don't want to think about the rigidity of corporate time off and the push and pull of, oh, I want to take time off to be with my child, but what about my career? It's like, how do you integrate that so that you don't have to necessarily decide and have a trade off? So that's wonderful. And
totally.
how can people learn more about your work, follow you, and get in touch?
You can follow me at science.bae, BAE, on Instagram and on TikTok. I'm also on Twitter at Sarah Habibi, PhD. And then I have my website, sarahhabibi.com, where you can reach out to me, specifically learn more about me and the work that I've done, see some video content that I have out there, and really just connect. But social media is where I am, Instagram and TikTok at science.bae.
Sarah, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your wisdom with everyone. I'm sure so many people have resonated with what you were saying and will take actionable steps for after listening to this conversation.
Oh, I'm glad. I hope they do see that. Thank you so much for letting me share my story. It was so nice chatting today.
Sarah, thank you so much. I love the way you're approaching your career and the way you're inspiring others to do so as well. I love all of the different pathways that you have suggested during our interview, and also some of them, like I said in the intro, I've never thought about before, and I love it. I really hope that whoever's listening right now has gotten some really interesting ideas and action items on their to-do list right now. Make sure you follow Sarah. She's amazing. Her content is wonderful. And I really feel like we've known each other for years now, even though this was our first, person to person Zoom like conversation. However, she is just such a wonderful soul, and I love following her and I love just being part of her life, if that makes sense. Let us know what you found the most interesting, the most surprising from our conversation with Sarah in the comments below or on social media. Tag us in it so that we can see it and shout out in the later episodes. I love hearing your feedback and hearing your thoughts on the episodes. So yeah, please let us know if you have anything to share with us. And of course, if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel or to this podcast, please do so because it's free content coming at you every Wednesday. And a special thanks to everyone who engages with it, who leaves us reviews. It really helps us and supports us, and I love you for it. Thank you so much. Share this episode with someone who you think might find it relevant, with someone who is paving their career in STEM and doesn't necessarily want to follow the traditional pathways and wants to create something of their own. I'm sure this episode will really help a lot of people figure out what they want to do for themselves and, jump into the unknown, because that's the exciting part of science communication in particular. There's no right or wrong way to do it, and you get to decide what is your unknown going to be. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful time the day you're currently experiencing. Bye.